Continuing on with day 2 of lesson 8.4. From day 1, recall we simplified rational expressions by factoring, restricting, and then reducing. We also multiplied with those same 3 steps. But now when we divide rational expressions, we include a couple of additional steps. Step 1 stays the same though. We're going to factor completely. Factor both the numerator and denominator. And then remember, because we have potential variables in that denominator, step 2, state those restrictions for the domain. And remember, those are those implied rules, what values that the variable cannot equal. Step 3 is the new step. Instead of dividing by a fraction, we've talked about this multiple times, we're going to apply the keep, switch, flip rule, or multiply by the reciprocal. This is important to remember in this step. And then step 4 kind of adds on to step 2. There might be new variable rules with new restrictions in our domain. Last but not least, we can reduce by any numerator canceling out with any denominator. But remember, do not reduce until this last step. And then we'll leave our answer in factored form. So maybe you'll have parentheses, maybe you won't need them, but you don't have to multiply everything back together. Make sure to have all 5 steps clearly written before you move to the examples below. In our first example, we're going to start similar to how we did in day 1. Taking a look at this quotient or division problem, we have 5x squared y cubed over x to the 7th divided by 30xy to the 4th over y cubed. Now notice in this example, there's nothing that has addition or subtraction. So when I say step 1, remember when we said factor the numerator and denominator completely? There's no factoring on this problem. We only have to factor when terms are separated by addition or subtraction. But I do notice that we have variables in the denominator of each of these fractions. We will have domain rules. In that first denominator, if x to the 7th can't equal 0, the only value that would make x equal 0 is 0 itself. So that means x can't equal 0. And then on that second one, kind of the same rule applies for y. If y cubed can't equal 0, the only value that would make y equal to 0 is 0 itself. So currently, those are our 2 new rules for the domain. Step 3 is keep, switch, flip, because technically, remember, we're dividing by a fraction. And instead of dividing by a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. So here's what I mean. We're going to keep that first big fraction, 5x squared y cubed, over x to the 7th. We're going to switch divide to multiply. And then we're going to flip that second fraction. So I'm going to put y to the 3rd on top and 30xy to the 4th on the bottom. That's the keep, switch, flip rule. And then step 4, any new restrictions on our domain? Well, I notice x to the 7th is the same, but then if I have 30xy to the 4th can't equal 0. Again, my only rules for x and y, x wouldn't be able to equal 0 because that would make that product 0. And if y is raised to the 4th power, y can't equal 0 either, because then again, 0 to the 4th power would equal 0, and 30 times any of those numbers would stay 0. So there are no new restrictions because these two match the original ones. So no new restrictions. All right, so then our last step, step 5, I'm just going to place that right next to step 3 over here. And we're going to take a look at, or trying to figure out now, instead of a quotient, now we're going to look at this product. And like we did in day 1, what I want you to do is just multiply everything on the top together. So I've got a 5, so I start with my lead coefficient, x squared, and there are no other x's. And then y cubed times y cubed would be y to the 6th power. Over everything in the denominator, I've got that 30, so I'm going to write that as my coefficient first. I have x to the 7th and x, that would give me x to the 8th, and then y to the 4th. All I've done here is just simplified the big numerator, simplified the big denominator. And now let's take a look at simplifying that. So as I look at 5 over 30, I notice 5 can go into both 5 and 30. That would give me 1 over 6. So I'm just going to write 1 on top, 6 on bottom. And then my x column, I've got x squared over x to the 8th. And the rule for dividing like bases is subtracting the exponents. And that answer always starts in the numerator. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. For the y's, same idea. 6 minus 4 is y squared. Last but not least, with that negative exponent, I'm going to drop that down to the denominator. So our final answer would be 1y squared over 6x to the positive 6th. And then remember, because we had multiple domains, I'm going to include, basically if I have all types of restrictions, I'm going to just include all of them at the very end with my final answer. I know x can't equal 0 and y can't equal 0. So there's my final answer. All right, let's try one now that includes factoring. For our second example, we have x squared minus 8x plus 15 over 2x squared plus 2x divided by x squared minus 14x plus 45 over x squared. Step 1, we want to factor both numerators and denominators completely. So as I look at x squared minus 8x plus 15, numbers that go into 15 are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. And out of those two pairs, 3 and 5 could get us negative 8 if we have x minus 3 and x minus 5. They multiply to get positive 15, but they also add to get that negative 8. Now in the denominator, I just have 2x squared plus 2x. There isn't a constant at the end. Now we can only hope for a common factor. And I notice each of those terms has a 2 and an x in common, and then we just need to figure out what's left over. If I take 2x out of 2x squared, I have x, and if I take 2x out of itself, I need a placeholder of 1. All right, there's that first fraction. Do the same thing on the second one. X squared minus 14x plus 45. We have a few more numbers that go into 45. We could do 1 and 45. We could do 3 and 15. We could do 5 and 9. And I think 5 and 9 would get us that negative 14 in the middle. So that would be x minus 5 and x plus 9 all over x squared. Nothing comes out of x squared because that's a monomial. So there's step 1, factor completely. Step 2, stating restrictions in our domain. If that first denominator can't equal 0, notice I've got two parts. I've got the 2x and the x plus 1. So 2x, I can't figure out a value for x that makes that equal 0, and x plus 1 can't equal 0 either. Dividing by 2 is pretty easy. That just means x can't equal 0. Move that 1 over, and x can't equal negative 1. For x squared can't equal 0, again, the only value for x that would make that equal 0 if you took the square root of each side is just 0. And we've already included that over here, so we don't need to write it twice. So as it stands, this is our current set for domain. X can't equal 0 or negative 1. Here's where things can get a little interesting. In step 3, when we apply that keep switch flip, I'm going to keep everything in factored form. So I still have x minus 3 and x minus 5 divided by 2x and x plus 1. But then when so 2x, get that x in there. There we go. When I do the keep switch flip, here's my switch to multiply, and I flip that second fraction, I get x squared on top and x minus 5 and x plus 9 on the bottom. So now notice in my denominators, I've got two new interpretations for x. That's where our step 4 comes in and is really important to remember. So I'm going to zoom this out so I give myself a little bit more room here. In step 4, as I add on new tentative restrictions, notice that in that second denominator, I've got two new values for x. X minus 5 can't equal 0, and x plus 9 can't equal 0. Move the 5 over, and move the 9 over. So now we have two more additions that we have to remember. Okay, so as I place that over here, x can't equal 5, and x can't equal negative 9. Remember, those are different than the ones from step 2. All right, let's go to step 5. And again, I'm just going to put step 5 right next to step 3, but put it wherever you want to put it. As I start to cancel things out, I'm looking at this section right here. Any numerator can cancel with any denominator. I don't see a lot that we can do, but I do notice I've got an x minus 5 and an x minus 5. That we know we can cross off. And here's where it might get a little tricky, everybody. See this lone x down here in the denominator? And then this x squared right here on top. I can take the x on this bottom and cross off one of the x's from the x squared on top. But I still have an x left over. And it looks like that's really about it for us. So I've got x minus 3 on top, or excuse me, x minus 3 and x on top. I'm just going to write the x first and then x minus 3 after. In the denominator, I've got the product of x plus 1 and x plus 9. And notice I'm not going to FOIL those together. And then remember, it's hard to see it because it looks like I kind of crossed it off, but you guys still remember there's that 2 right here? We've got to make sure that 2 goes on the outside as the coefficient in the denominator. So there were lots of parts to that final answer. Make sure you can find all of those parts. And again, because there were new additions to that domain, I'm just going to list everything at once. And because they're all related to x, I only have to write x can't equal. I don't have a y or another variable. And then I'm just going to write them smallest to biggest. But as long as they're all there, you can write them in any order. Those were our restrictions for the domain that go along with that quotient. Here's our last example. We have x squared minus 2x minus 15 over x squared y minus 25y divided by x cubed plus 27 over x squared plus 5x. Okay, so we're starting off as a division or a quotient problem. Step 1, factor everything completely. Just start with one fraction at a time. X squared minus 5x minus 15. Numbers that go into 15 again are 1 and 15, 3 and 5. We're going to use 3 and 5 again like we did last time, but now we need to get negative 2 when we add them together. If we keep 5 negative and 3 positive, we will get the product of negative 15, but the sum of negative 2. Now, the denominator is going to be a little trickier this time. We have 2 variables, and I noticed that both terms have that y in common. So if I have x squared y minus 25y, I can take y out of both of those terms, and that would give me x squared minus 25 left over. But then I recognize x squared minus 25 is a difference of 2 squares. That factors into x and x, 5 and 5, and then 1 plus 1 minus in between them, with that y out in front. So I'm just going to kind of cross that denominator off and have that more factored denominator underneath it. Divided by, and then we throw in x cubed all of a sudden. We haven't had the sum or difference of perfect cubes yet, but I notice that if I have x cubed, 27, I can also rewrite as a perfect cube. So if you recall from our perfect sums, or the sum of 2 perfect cubes formula, it's a little parenthesis and then a bigger parenthesis. That first parenthesis is just x plus 3, the sum of the 2 individual cubes. And then it's the second parenthesis, the first term squared, minus the product of the 2 terms, plus the second term squared. So x squared minus 3x plus 9. And then we always wrote down, remember that never factors further, so we're done with that one. And then x squared plus 5x, common factor of x, and we have x plus 5 left over. Whew, that's a big step 1 right there. All right, let's look at step 2, restrictions in our domain. In that first fraction, we've got 3 parts to our denominator, a y and then 2 parentheses with x's. If none of them can equal 0, y can't equal 0, x plus 5 can't equal 0, and x minus 5 can't equal 0. So y can't equal 0 is valid. Move the 5 over. Move the 5 over. X can't equal negative 5 or positive 5. In that second fraction, we've got x can't equal 0, and then we have another x plus 5 can't equal 0. Now when I move that 5 over, we already have that restriction, so we don't need to write it twice. So we've got y can't equal 0, x can't equal negative 5, positive 5, or 0. There's a lot of them going on there. Step 3, let's apply our keep switch flip rule. This is a lot of rewriting, so let's leave it in factored form though to keep it as simple as possible. X minus 5 over x plus 3 all divided by, or x minus 5 times x plus 3, sorry, over y times y plus 5, or x plus 5, wow, x minus 5. There we go. And now we're going to do our switch and our flip. So I'm going to switch divide to multiply, flip that second fraction, x and x plus 5 now both go in the numerator, x plus 3 and, oh boy, x squared minus 3x plus 9 in that denominator. So now because of those new parts in our denominator, we're going to have new restrictions. I need to give myself a little bit more space for that. There we go. I'll just put step 4 down here. Maybe. There we go. We'll get there. If this part can't equal 0, I've got x minus 3 can't equal, or excuse me, x plus 3 can't equal 0. We're just going to get rid of that right away. X can't equal negative 3, so we're going to have to make sure we include that in our, sorry, let's just clean that up. There we go. X can't equal negative 3. Sorry, I'm just going too quickly. Now the second one's kind of a bummer because it's quadratic. And remember, we said it's not factorable. That means we have to check with quadratic formula to see what type of restrictions would apply here. So if we do quadratic formula, x equals negative 3, or negative b, which is negative 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 3, minus 4ac all over 2a. We actually have to verify that this is either going to be imaginary or it's going to be a square root type of restriction. All right, so we've got a double negative 3, that's positive 3, plus or minus. Negative 3 squared is positive 9. 4 times 1 times 9 is 36, all over 2. And I think we luck out, everybody, because if we do 9 minus 36, we actually get negative 27. So we have 3 plus or minus negative 27 over 2. That means it's imaginary, which means that's not going to give us a restriction in the denominator. But we do have to verify that, you guys. Whew, okay, at least we luck out and we're good to go there. Now let's simplify this product over here at the top and be done. All right, so we're going to go from 3 over to 5 right here to the right. Just going to go right here. All right, we want to simplify this product. Get in there. What do you notice? Let's see. I notice right away the x minus 5s cancel, and then x plus 3. I've got one here, one down here. I don't have any plain x's on top and bottom, but I do have an x plus 5. We actually got quite a few things to cancel out, which is nice. All we have left over in the numerator for this new quotient is x. In the denominator, I see that y on that left-hand side. Don't forget that one. And then x squared minus 3x plus 9. So we did get this to simplify down to a pretty small quotient in the final answer. Let's go back to those domains, though. Look at steps 2 and 4. We have a lot of domain rules. Let's look at x first. Well, let's do y equals 0 since it's the first one we wrote. And then x can't equal a whole bunch of stuff. What did I have? I had negative 5. We had negative 3. We had 0 and 5. Look at all those restrictions for x, and we included that one for y. Wow, so this is how we divide rational expressions.